What's up, Arrtx? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about OCs and alcohol markers because Arrtx gave me 90 alcohol markers, which is crazy. So it came in a really huge box and really nice variety of stuff. But I will say that some of the colors do look very similar, so just keep an eye on that. But aside from that, it's really nice. They blend really well, so it has a soft tip and then a hard tip on both sides. The soft tip is great for like softer shading, and then the hard tip is good for like more harsh shading, like if you want to do more of a cell shade style or something like that, or larger coverage. But yeah, so I would say that as you see throughout the video, they blend really nicely and the colors are just perfect. They have that bright candy color thing going on. These are definitely great markers. And something else that made me really happy was that because I drew my OC Blue Birthday, I actually had like the perfect colors for like him. So I was like, alright, cool. So I'm gonna draw Blue Birthday because I finally had the colors that I need for this. And also I was like, why not? Because as of recording this, it's his birthday, as in the date I created him, or the date that I uploaded in the Toy House, so I figured might as well make something related to him. It's not the best drawing ever. I kind of just took something off of Pinterest and was like, alright, just let me draw this and call it a day. So basically with Blue Birthday, he looks sad in this picture because everything that's gone in his life has been really terrible. So he's just like, man, I'm just glad I made it this far. It was just so depressing. But I was just like, I don't know what else to draw. I mean, I've been having really bad art block lately, and I was just like, I need to draw something though for this video. But yeah, so let's just talk about OC stuff, because that's what I wanted to talk about for this video. So the topic of this video is why I love making OC so much. Now, you'd be surprised to know that I do not have like 200 characters or more. I actually have like around 140, maybe 130. Toy House stats say like 140 something, but you have to subtract like some non-characters that were uploaded, since, you know, that includes everything. But yeah, so I love making characters because for me, I get inspired a little too easily. Like, you could literally like show me some random thing and somehow I'm going to make a character out of it, or I might hear something and I'm like, oh, I need to make that into a character. It's always like the weirdest things that I always want to turn into like a story or some sort of character or whatever, and that's why I always accumulate so many OCs. And also because I see like designs on like Pinterest or Twitter or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this will make for an interesting concept for like a character and like their backstory or whatever, and then it results in the snowball effect of me just coming up with a bunch of stuff. But here's the thing though, the reason why I don't have like 1,000 characters is because the OCs need to go through a vetting process. It can't just appear out of nowhere. I gotta plan things at least a little bit. I mean, I'm very impulsive with OC creation, but like I do have to somewhat like, you know, draw out the design at least once, or like think about like their backstory and personality a little bit. Like, I can't just dive right in. Some characters I have, but like most of the time it takes a little longer for me to warm up to them unless they have like a gimmick or something about them that I really love. Like, for example, recently I made 2 characters for like this idea that I had based on something I was inspired by from Life Makeover. So basically it's this musical musketeer character named Alto, and their whole thing is that they have like this love triangle going on where they're in love with this princess of this musical kingdom, and they have this arch nemesis named Deloro. And the problem is that Alto and Deloro are like becoming like this weird enemies to lovers thing, but Alto is also like in love with the princess, so they're constantly like, there's like this conflict going on. And I made that because I was just inspired by this outfit from Life Makeover, and that's the problem. I get inspired so easily, which is why like I love fashion games, but it's also kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because since I get inspired so easily, my brain is always thinking of like new characters, and as a result, sometimes I tend to forget about my current OCs, which is a problem because, you know, you'd think that I would be drawing my OCs all the time, but no, I'm always coming up with new ones instead of like applying stuff to the current ones, which is its own issue. I think it's just the thrill of making new things that I like instead of just working on old things. But I do think about my characters still. Like, I don't completely abandon them. But and also will say that I do love my OCs unequally. I think that's fine. You know, some OCs I love more, you know, personal bias in terms of design or backstory or whatever, and some I don't like as much just because like maybe I've grown distant, or maybe because I just haven't developed them enough. You know, they gotta think in the brain a bit. Since there's like over 100 of them, they gotta cycle through, and sometimes some OCs just don't get enough time in the spotlight to be within the brain cycle, which is what sucks, but it is what it is. So if you're like me and you get inspired way too easily and you're like, man, I have like an OC idea like every single day, I would recommend like getting a journal or maybe like a Pinterest board or whatever and just like writing down all your ideas and just kind of letting it marinate for a bit, because that's what I usually do. Recently I've decided to use this journal of mine that I've had since I was a kid, and I decided to like just put OC ideas or like any sort of like conceptual stuff in there. I started gluing in stuff from like sketchbooks for like any sort of sketch or any like idea that I had or anything I found online. I put in my book as like inspiration for the future, because I'm like, you know what, maybe I might look back on this, you know, like some characters I've revived from like ages ago, but I didn't have like an idea for them when I first made them, or maybe I did but I just lost interest. And sometimes certain OCs just kind of have to stay, you know, in the oven a little longer before they can be fully baked. Some characters, they only need like a day or so to be made, while others, they need more time, and that's completely fine. So there's definitely a lot of characters that will probably be made in the future, which is, it's so fun, but also can be really daunting to have so many like ideas for inspiration kind of floating around. I have to really rein myself in when it comes to this, because, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself or make too many like things at once, which is definitely one of my biggest flaws, is that I am like very impulsive with art. I always like to jump in and make new things and stuff instead of working on what I currently have, because again, the thrill of making new stuff is just really fun for me. I love making new things and just doing whatever, you know? I think for me, my OCs are more like art fodder. Like, I like making them with like some lore, but also because it's like I have something to draw if I don't know what to draw. But that's the problem, I don't draw them, which is so annoying. I think it's because like since I have so many, drawing them from memory can be really hard. I mean, I managed to like kind of get the hang of drawing Alto, for example, like within just a day, because I drew like a bunch of doodles of them, so it's definitely possible. But anyway, we're nearing the end of the video and I don't want to yap for too long, so I will say is that if you're like me, don't limit yourself, but also like try to keep things in check, you know? Like, I don't want to put like a number limit on how many OCs I'm going to have. If I have 1,000, I'll have 1,000, but I'm not going to stop myself from making 1,000. But, you know, I try not to have too many made within a certain time frame, just because it's like, you know, I gotta let the other OCs do their thing, you know, live rent free in my head for a bit, let me think about them before I move on to other characters or make new ones. And also I like to acquire characters like on Toy House through like trades mainly, or like making art for them or whatever. Since I'm not really someone that likes to buy characters, that's one thing I've tried to avoid. I'm not really like a big spender, because I know that I feel like I would fall victim to like spending too much. So I like to just acquire designs mainly through trades, or if I do get inspired, I will like take some inspo and just kind of use that for like, you know, save it for a rainy day. But yeah, you know, also one thing also I love to do with making OCs is I just like writing lore. I will say that I'm not a great writer or anything like that, but I just like creating stories and just kind of having a bunch of imaginary beings just existing right free in my head and coming up with wacky, whimsical worlds where crazy stuff happens and there's lots of drama and chaos and stuff. It's just fun for me, you know? It's a very fun hobby that I feel like is pretty harmless for the most part, because like there's no limit to what I can do, and I think that's great. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you quacks later.